Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about 5 different health trends that I have noticed are not good for the female body. We're kind of figuring out how a lot of these health trends are kind of designed around male bodies and they don't exactly support the intricate cascade and dance of female hormones. And if you are on your healing or fertility journey or you're just trying to balance your hormones, these are a few trends that you might want to avoid, and I will let you know what I do instead. If you're new here, I was diagnosed with something called primary ovarian insufficiency about 3 years ago. I don't think that I actually have full-blown POI, but I am on the spectrum of ovarian dysfunction, and that means that I have to be extra careful with different things that can affect my hormones. I'm also currently on my fertility journey, so these are things that I will personally be avoiding. Before we get into it, I just want you guys to know I am not a health professional of any kind. I am just speaking from my own personal experience and from research that I have done. If you want to make any diet or lifestyle changes, please consult a health professional. So let's just go ahead and get into it. The first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is intermittent fasting. There's a lot of debate around this about whether or not it's actually good for you. It seems to be that it's good for men and it's less good for women. So intermittent fasting, sorry, my dog is here if you hear her snoring. So intermittent fasting is good for men, it's not so great for women. We need consistent energy to support ovulation, our blood sugar, and our adrenal health. Fasting can actually raise cortisol, so that is not what we want, especially in today's world where we are already running on high cortisol. And for women, when we wake up, our cortisol rises to help us wake up, but when we eat, it comes down. So what I try to do is I try to eat within the first hour of waking to help bring that down and make sure that my meal is protein rich and nutrient dense so that I'm starting the day off on the right foot. And then I try to focus on regular protein rich meals throughout the day and also make sure there are healthy fats in there. Healthy fats are very important for supporting our hormones. This makes a massive difference in how I feel. I personally found that when I eat a really protein rich breakfast, it completely changes the way I feel. I feel like I can conquer the day when I eat enough protein. It makes a huge difference in how grounded and nourished I feel. Number 2 is the keto diet. I actually did the keto diet back in 2018 and I lost so much weight. I'll pop up a picture on the screen of how thin I was. First of all, it triggered kind of eating disorder-ish tendencies in me. And second of all, it just wasn't sustainable. I think when I did the keto diet, my period got lighter, which is not necessarily a great thing for me because I have this condition that you guys know about. I'm not sure. I started to show signs of it back in 2018 when I was doing the keto diet. It had also just recently gone through bed bug fumigation, and I personally think that was the root of mine. At least one of the roots of mine was toxin exposure. The keto diet, it made me really thin, but it just wasn't sustainable. It made me a little bit obsessive, and also I found out that eating really super low carb is really not good for our cycles or for our ovulation quality. We actually need healthy carbs to make serotonin, support thyroid health, and produce progesterone. Those are essential for ovulation and fertility. So now what I do is I focus on whole food carbs like fruit, root vegetables, and rice, especially white rice, because it has lower amounts of arsenic in it. What I will do with the white rice is I will add some olive oil to it. It helps curb your glucose spike when you're eating white rice. So I especially try to focus on eating these higher carb foods in my luteal phase, which is when your body needs it to support around ovulation, and your luteal phase, which is when your body needs it for progesterone production. The third health trend that I'm not falling for is over exercising. I used to think that I needed to push hard. I used to be so focused on my weight and what I looked like. If you guys don't know, I used to be a fashion model and I was constantly under pressure to be as skinny as possible, and so it put a ton of pressure on me. I had an eating disorder in my very early 20s because of it, and it was not good. It was not good for me, and so I used to push myself super hard in the gym too. Like, other than just having an eating disorder, I also pushed myself so hard in the gym, and I just realized that actually was not good for my body. When I was doing that, I was younger and my body was tolerating it better. I didn't have primary ovarian insufficiency yet or ovarian dysfunction yet, so I could sort of tolerate that a little bit better, but it still was not good for me. And I got to a point where I was eating like a vegetarian diet. I was trying to eat really healthy. I was eating very minimal food and I was still puffy and felt horrible, and I would push myself so hard in the gym, and it was probably because of my hormonal health, because I was pushing my body too hard and not taking a step back, focusing on lifting weights, on gentle exercise that my body could handle that was supportive to my female body and my female hormones. So now what I do is I stick to weightlifting like 2 to 3 times per week. I also go on long walks, and then I try to incorporate some kind of fun exercise for me. So for me personally, that is surfing. I try to go surfing as much as possible whenever my schedule and the conditions align. But surfing is like, it gives me so much joy, and it's really, really good exercise. So I highly encourage you to find something that you find is fun. And even if you feel like you're too old to start a new sport, I was 33 when I started surfing. So you're never too old to start. And I also know people who have started in their 40s or 50s. I've heard of people starting. So it's never too late to start a new sport that you enjoy. The fourth health trend that I'm not falling for is low calorie dieting. This is also something that I fell into in my modeling days, and creating calorie deficits and under eating only sets you up for failure in the long run because it isn't sustainable. First of all, you're not treating your body very well. And if you're focusing only on calories and not on the quality of the food that you're eating, you're going about it all the wrong way. Calorie counting is very triggering for people who have had eating disorders or have eating disorders. And it's not the right way to go about things. You need to focus on nutrient dense food and eating enough for your body to feel safe, because your body needs to feel safe in order to ovulate and to just thrive, have healthy hormones. So I do not focus on restriction anymore. I do not count calories. I focus more on macros, and I just try to make sure that I'm eating minimal processed foods. The foods that are processed that I eat, I make sure the ingredients are really good, and I try to get an ideal ratio of macros, which I will tell you right now what that is. The macro ratio that I go for personally, and I got this from Amy Raup, who is the author of The Egg Quality Diet. I go for 25% carbohydrates, 45% fat, and 30% protein. I try to make sure that my protein sources are grass-fed, wild-caught fish, pasture-raised chicken, pasture-raised eggs, because the nutrient profiles are very different from factory farmed animals. So again, and making sure I'm eating lots of nutrient dense vegetables, fruits, those kinds of things. And guys, I'm not perfect. I'm not focusing on this every single day like I should. And I have a lot of days where I order in food and it's not exactly healthy. So just so you know, like when you're watching my videos and my informative videos, just know that I'm human too, and I have human days too, and that's okay. I think it's important to focus on consistency over perfection. Perfection doesn't exist. So just try to be as consistent as you can and allow yourself to be human. That's the rule that I live by. As long as you're being consistent the majority of the time, I feel like it's enough. The last health trend that I am not falling for, and this may surprise you, but it's cold plunges. Cold plunges are really good for men. They're not so great for women because it raises our cortisol too much. We can do cold plunges, but according to Dr. Stacy Sims, who is a big researcher in the women's space, women only need to go down to like 55 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's way warmer than what a lot of people are doing. And you could just, for example, jump into the Pacific Ocean, Southern California, and you would be getting your cold plunge. We don't actually need it to be as cold as men do, because doing anything colder can mess with your hormones. It can disrupt your cycle, spike your cortisol, and is actually not super great. Some women may tolerate it better than others, but just as a general rule, it's not as good for women as it is for men. I'll just read you a little excerpt from ChatGPT. Cold plunges spike cortisol and norepinephrine, which can be helpful in small doses, but not when your body is already in a stressed state. Cold exposure has some amazing benefits, but for women with hormone imbalance or nervous system issues, it can be a little too intense. So instead of doing cold plunges, I go swimming in the ocean. I know that not everyone has access to the ocean like I do, but if you live near a lake or if you have like a natural pool, I try not to go in the pool too much because chlorine can kind of affect your thyroid. So I try not to swim in chlorine pools if I can help it. I go swimming in the ocean or like in some kind of natural body of water. Or, you know, you can do like a cold shower or something. You don't need to be jumping into an ice bath in order to get the benefits. So if you can just go down to 55 degrees Fahrenheit or a little above that, then you're fine. And then I also like to do saunas. I used to do the infrared sauna, but I no longer do that because I joined a new gym and they have a really good traditional sauna, and I didn't have the budget to keep spending on the very expensive infrared sauna that I was going to. So for now I'm just doing that. So that's it, guys. Those are the 5 wellness trends that I am personally not falling for. Let me know in the comments if you've tried any of these or any of the wellness trends that you are not super on board with, and we can have a discussion there in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you are not subscribed, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. I do a lot of structured videos like that. I also share my healing journey and everyday life in vlogs. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye, guys.